Hey, Mike Callahan, back with the SA Weekly Talk Show once again. Had some technical difficulties with on-site Travis, one of our social media experts. So he's going to be joining us tomorrow about the same time, 3:30 Eastern, 2 to 2:30 Central. But did hop on. I wanted to hold true to my commitment to everybody trying to tune in here. Know a little bit late, but we did have some technical difficulties with some things lining up. So needless to say, had a lot of questions the last few weeks, especially GIE. A lot of people, current members, or people looking to actually make the jump to Service Autopilot. What does the expert workflow look like in Service Autopilot, and how do you handle that? So I'm going to take the next 30, 40 minutes here to go through, answer some questions live, how to create an expert workflow in Service Autopilot. So whether you've been using the system a while, or if you're looking to dive into it. But I'm going to actually show you the process that we use as a certified advisor to set up and train Service Autopilot for people. So basically, I'm just going to open the hood up and show you what we do and how we do it to set this up for people if they don't have the time or expertise, or just don't want to do it. They just want to be up and running in 4 to 5, or basically 10 or days less, with 4 to 5 years worth of learning curve. So I'm just going to show you how we do it, what's involved, and the expert workflow from front to back, how to do that. So I'm going to pop my screen up here and actually show you how we tackle this and all the different features of Service Autopilot that I recommend from the get-go that you should incorporate for ultimate success. Right down to tracking your marketing sources, your costs. If we have some time in this call, I'll actually dive into some of the reports so you can dial into that as well. So I'm going to grab my screen here and pull this back up. So now that we're in here, I'm going to pull the agenda off and hide this. But basically what we're going to do is go into this flow chart here. And the first thing we're going to be looking at is basically, as I blow this up, we've got website requests and client calls to the office. So how do we handle that, and how do we track the certain things? So just from the beginning of lead acquisitions, we're diving into Service Autopilot. How do we get the client's info in there automatically from the website with no double entry and track the place they came from? So if this is multiple landing pages or just the page on your website that tracks the estimate request. So we want to be able to track where they came from and attach a client acquisition cost. In addition, if the client calls, what are the things that we should be asking as a business owner, or if we delegate it to a virtual assistant or an office staff, what are these things we're asking on the phone as a basically a call script to make this happen? So I'm going to log in the SA and hop back to this flow chart to show you step by step the things, in my opinion, that you should be doing in SA when you set it up, and the proper workflow as you use it yourself or delegate it to a virtual assistant or office staff. So I'm going to log into SA here and literally tackle this out. So first thing we're going to do is, if we've got a person coming from the phone call, we're going to go in and hit the plus sign and hit add a lead. First thing we're going to do is go in and get some very pertinent information. So we're going to be putting in their first name, last name. Always want to grab an email address, and I'm going to plug this in here as a test client. Now, if you're using SA here, it will automatically merge their first name and last name right here. If it is a company, let's say it's the Acme Lawn Care Company, we want to put that company name in there, and that's going to override that. Email is definitely, you're going to want that in there. So it's going to ask you if you want it on both. So what's this saying is basically, do you want it on the client information and the billing address the same? I'm going to say both, but we can tweak that. The next thing we're going to do is going to get their email in here. Very important, especially with automations and some of the communications. We want to try to get that email address. Next thing is we're going to try to get a cell phone number. That is going to be the most important number you want. Underneath it, it says provider. Honestly, at this point, I would ignore that. This is a legacy feature. So this is something you really don't need. I wouldn't waste your time with it. Let's make these calls as quick and easy as possible, because let's face it, most people don't want to talk to a person on the phone. Main thing here is we're going to grab an address. So I'm going to put our test client address in here. And we're going to postal code. When you enter the postal code in, this is automatically going to pop up the city and state to make sure you're in the right place. And I'm going to collect it. And you can notice the service address and the billing address, when I selected both now, are automatically merging over. So if you're watching this, you're already an SA customer, bear with me. I'm going to get into the nuts and bolts and some of the stuff you may not be using. But I really want to set a foundation from the beginning to the end to show you the power of SA and the features that I recommend plugging in from day one and as you expand out. So we've got that in there. We're going to put the sales tax in there. And as we scroll up here on the top, we've got add a lead. We got detail, sales, billing, office notes, and custom fields. These are going to be the same options once you convert a lead to a client. And it's important to differentiate the difference between a lead and a client when we do this. The one thing that I would recommend under here is under sales, we want to track the source. How did you hear about us? Was it a customer referral, a door hanger, every door direct mailing? I'm going to say it's from every door direct mailing. And when we put referred by, it's going to drop down a list of people that could have referred this client. So if Mrs. Smith is maybe a one-time customer for fall cleanups, really not a real profitable customer, but if she's referring 15 to 20 of her friends each year that are doing reoccurring lawn mowing, fertilization, weed control, or home cleaning, before we kind of kick her out of the queue if it's not a great client, we want to be able to run some reports for her referral activity. Under this here, you'll see is do not market. If you are in Canada and someone says, do not market me under the CAM Spam Act, you by all means need to do this. Best practice, CAM Spam kind of falls under the United States, England, Australia. We've got some clients out there. Best practice, they don't want to be talked to, click do not market. If you're talking to them and maybe it's an HOA or commercial, we have the billing email address if that's different. So I'm going to kind of go through these options as well. If you haven't seen them with the initial setup, they apply to the client screen as well. These things you probably wouldn't collect if they are a client right now. A lead right now. We fill this out when they become a client. Basically, when you set Service Autopilot up, there's certain defaults. So we can email, print, or do both for invoicing. So this is going to be a manual override per client if we need to manually override that. How they pay you. Are they taxable? Is it a church? Maybe they're not taxable. If they're really an important client and you're really worried about sending an invoice out without checking it, we can check this here, flag invoice for review, and that's going to take care of that. So you're going to have to review that before that's sent out. And you can override the billing terms. So is it due on receipt? Is it due net 10, net 15, net 30? You can override the default and when to invoice. Is it daily, weekly, monthly, print in advance, or a custom date? So particular in this example, the 20th of every month. So one of the cool things about Service Autopilot, if you're using it, but maybe not really using the billing feature, believe it or not, that's very common, especially in lawn care and even home cleaning. The ability of, and I'm going to go through this in a step-by-step process, but basically once we finish those jobs, if we're billing monthly at 12:01 midnight going into the first of the next month, those invoices are automatically generated, and it basically takes a lot of the double entry and manual work that you may be manually doing in QuickBooks or pen and paper. So totally worth it with that. Office notes are internal, not client facing. Maybe client has a dog, is picky about something. You want to track it. That's where you put it. Do not ever put credit card information or billing information that's secure in this area. Always enter it where the credit card belongs. It's tokenized and encrypted, whether you're using BluePay, authorized.net, or any of the other features. Had the pleasure to hang out with BluePay for 2 to 3 days at GIE, and they're running some great rates if you haven't checked them out as a side note. Custom fields are things like turf square footage, linear length of bed, small, medium, and large bedrooms, or maybe the gate code to get in a house. That's kind of the quick overview of this. So the next thing we're going to do is really just scroll down and hit save. As we go back to our chart here, so now we've tackled when a client calls the office, main thing is we want to get their info, first name, last name, address, how they heard about us, and their cell phone with email to create some things for automations. And if there's a separate billing address or some information that's particular to that, we may add that in at that time. Next thing is if they hit our website. So this is something that I find a lot of times as a certified advisor that most people don't really take into account, and the website's getting filled out, but it's not automatically entering the information in the essay. There's double entry. So I'm going to go into that real quick and just show you what that looks like and how to tackle that. And hopefully we're not having technical difficulties again here that we were having earlier when we were trying to get Trav on. So it looks like we're okay. So under CRM, we've got a function in essay called forms. And this is what you're going to be filling out and creating to either embed or link off your website. Or if you're going to get more advanced, I would suggest building out multiple landing pages for each lead source. So Facebook ads drives to a special form. Your website drives to a form. Maybe a special ad in the newspaper drives to a form. Whatever those lead sources are, if you build out separate forms, I'm going to show you how to set up the lead source tracking to track each type of marketing function that you have and be able to run some reports on it. So it's going to help you really dive into that client acquisition cost. So I'm going to go in and add a form, a test form here, just so you can kind of see the workflow. I'm not going to create the whole thing, but there's certain key takeaways, whether you have Service Autopilot now or you're looking at it in the future. These are the common questions as a certified advisor that I get day in and day out. So obviously, we're going to want to name this form. Let's add some requests. And we're going to go in and add some fields. So this is how we create this form to automatically take the information from the website or a landing page and automatically enter it in the essay without any double entry. We're going to go in. First thing we're going to name is an ad. Add the name. We're going to add the address. If you're looking for lead generation, less barriers or less contact points in the form, the better. So there's two ways of approaching this. If you want to enter them in the Service Autopilot as a lead, first name, last name, and email are the two required fields. If you want to enter them in as a client, we need first name, last name, and address. My opinion is, unless it's a lead magnet, maybe a white paper or a video you're giving away, if they're requesting an estimate, a good way to qualify them is require an address. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So we're going to click on the name here, and this is going to go down and map to specific field. So we're going to go in and client name, first name, last name. So now when they hit this form, it's automatically entered in the essay with no double entry. Literally last call I was just on with a Service Autopilot user. This is what we did. Address is going to map down to service address. So now we're taking those specific fields and mapping them back to automatically enter in the essay. You're obviously going to add some fields here. So maybe we're going to go in to do some check boxes. And I'm not going to build the whole thing out, but this could be request an estimate for. Under here, we're going to put different things like lawn mowing, weekly home cleaning, whatever that is. So you kind of get the idea. So under form settings, we can go back and put create on submit right here. We're going to create and update a client or a lead. Right now, we're going to update a lead because they're not the client yet. We're going to auto approve create on submit. And if you want to send an internal email alerting somebody that there's an estimate that's request done, we click this here. Under email options, we can customize that text and assign it to someone in your business. Next thing we're going to do here is we've created on submit, and we're going to select a source. So we're going to say this is maybe from a, let's go in and let's maybe say it's from a Facebook ad. So we want to track now anybody who submits this has come from a Facebook ad. So these things are important in the beginning to set up for success, because the reporting systems in Service Autopilot are very, very robust and can get you the numbers in your business. Now, a lot of people, I've heard of naysayers, the reports aren't as great, they need some work. They're really not once you put the foundational work in. So I'm giving you the foundational work. If you're building essay out yourself, these are the things you really need to look at. The final thing I'm going to kind of just touch on but not show you is we can add conditions based on this estimate request, and we can add tags. So add a condition, it's equal to lawn mowing. We can add a tag, and that tag could be requested a lawn mowing estimate. So now we have a way to filter and sort based on people where they're in the customer pipeline. So a person who's requested an estimate for lawn mowing but hasn't received it, a person who's received an estimate that needs to say yes or no, and a person who's bought or has not bought lawn mowing. So tags are very specific and important in the system once you get into that detail to be able to sort and filter on that. So those are the basics. Other things under form layout, if you don't use the publishing information and have your webmaster tweak it, you can add your logo and things like that by showing the logo. So we've got that there. So we're going to save this and close this. And I'm actually going to show you how to take this code now and get it to your webmaster. And then we're going to get into the nuts and bolts here. But this is very foundational. A lot of times when people first get essay or they have it, these are the things that are missing. So I'm just going to go in, we grab a form we want and hit publish. And under publish, we have a hosted form. So this is a URL you can literally copy and paste and put live. Embed the form in your website. But the thing, if you've got a webmaster or you have any HTML coding knowledge, is you'd want to probably use the full form here or the strip form. And If your webmaster is at all knowledgeable, they should be able to handle this in probably 10 to 15 minutes. If this is something they're confused in, I would suggest finding a new webmaster. So that's kind of where that's at. So now as we go back to our flow chart, we've handled lead source acquisition and lead source tracking off the website and when a client calls. Now they're entered in the service autopilot. Now we need to go out and create an estimate. So I'm not going to show you how to create an estimate per se, but I'm going to show you the things in service autopilot if you're going to use it to its fullest extent that you should be looking at. So we're going to look at custom fields, basically job variables. So turf square footage of a landscape bed, maybe small, medium, and large bedrooms. You may be looking at turf or square footage of a home if you're in the home cleaning industry. We're going to have the ability of selecting a template. So we're going to build a template once and let it load every time. So it's going to list all your services and you pick the ones that you want. And then we're going to create that estimate and save it. So I'm going to walk through that process of what this looks like. So once we set it, we forget it. And it's just going to be a time-saving process here. So what we're going to do is basically go in under CRM settings is where templates live. I'll grab one that's already built, but I'll give you some context of the structure and the power of the system here. So once this loads, we'll grab one of these pre-built templates to show you how we can actually do this. So I'm going to do a, see, we had one for, it's fall cleanup season right now. So I'll do one, we'll do one for lawn mowing. We've got one right here. So we're going to click on the template here that's pre-built. We'll see what we have. Honestly, this was totally unrehearsed. So we're going to kind of do this live. All right, so this is an estimate that we've created for lawn mowing. Lawn mowing here, the way I've broken this out is a parent-child relationship. So lawn mowing is the labor on site. We have drive time, and then we have different types of lawn mowers, a 22-inch mower, a 52-inch mower, and a 60-inch mower. So the way this type of attack would happen is we would enter the square footage of the turf as a custom field, and when we pull this template up, it would automatically load it and calculate the prices for the mowing based on each type of mower and the drive time. So we can do production rate based estimating on each type of piece of equipment. This may be getting a little bit too in the weeds for folks, but the system allows you to do separate line items. If you're doing hardscaping or different design build, we can literally have a hardscape patio with every step along the way filed out and not even have to show the customer. So all the customers can see is lawn mowing with the final price or design build paper patio, $5,000, but each line item can be adding up your drive time, your load unload, clean site, prep, crush or run, final cuts, whatever those steps are, we can dial those out. So this is a very easy way, once we set it up, to save time and drive it back. You notice it's tied into an estimate document, so it's going to always preload that document for you. So a little background on that, and that's kind of how that all lays out. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to hop into a client here. So now we're basically going in and we're going to create an estimate. So we're going to go in and pull up that test client. And this would be the workflow on a very high level that we recommend. So we're going to go into Maps Pro and measure that turf square footage or whatever you want on the satellite. Or if you're in the home cleaning or even lawn care industry, you may be having some qualifying questions on the phone where we're asking, how many small, medium, and large bedrooms, or different things that allow you to basically price over the phone through a call script. And once this loads here, we're going to go down and actually pull the property measurement. We're going to measure it, save it as that custom field, and then go into the nitty gritty of it. So we're going to go and hit property measurement. Basically what this is Google Earth inside Service Autopilot with a drag and drop measuring tool. So we're going to go in, we're going to hit satellites, and we're going to zoom right in. Now, a cool feature of this is depending on where it is, we hit this little arrow, we can actually get different visuals of the property and measure, for instance, right here, the square footage of the landscape bed live from Google Earth. So that's a really cool feature that, that you can do based on the satellite imagery in your area. So, but I'm going to go in for an example here of, let's just say we're getting the turf square footage. We're going to circle the area of the house to exclude it. And honestly, if it's a little off, in my opinion, it's not really going to matter because within a couple hundred square feet, either way, it's going to work fine. But now we've measured this property. So we're going to go into custom fields and go in and find turf square footage. And bear with me, no one would probably have this many turf square footage or this many custom fields, but as a certified advisor building this out for people, we have several hundred. So let's see if I can cheat the system here and do a little control F here and see if we can't get it. So as I'm grabbing the turf square footage is a custom field. Custom fields track different things. I'm actually going to put this in, let's see if I can find it. And like I said, this wouldn't be normal for a normal account, but we've got so many custom fields here building these out for people. There we go, Facebook turf square footage. So we saved that. We've got the 8,300 square feet. Now that's saved to the client. So we can do small, medium, and large shrubs, driveway area for snow plowing. If you're in the other industries, it's like driveway sealing, whatever that is, we save that to the particular customer. So now the next thing we do is literally go in and add an estimate. And we're going to pull up a template. So we're going to select a pre-built template. So this is where we're going to start buying time back. So you set it up once, then you forget it. If you have any comments or questions, drop them below as well. I'll answer these live. And then, like I said, on-site Trav will be live tomorrow. What's up, Colin? What's going on, Chip? Any other comments, questions along this live Facebook kind of run through of expert use of SA? Happy to answer too. So we're going to grab this template that we pre-built out, and that was the Facebook or FB lawn mowing, and that's gonna load that in. So now we've got everything. So everything based on a turf square footage of 8,300 square feet gave me a price based on a matrix. So I'll go in and show you how we can set up pricing. I know one of the biggest concerns as a business owner is you don't want to give your employees your pricing. Well, you can build it in the back and kind of keep them out of it, but allow them to enter some variables and let it automatically populate. So basically in this example, we could go in and let's just say we're doing a 22-inch push mower. Obviously these prices are fictitious. We're not charging $109 for 8,300 square feet with a push mower, but we can go in and literally just go in and delete that. Now we've got $109 based on the square footage. It's going to take 2.25 hours and it's going to cost us $80. The profit margin, 26.9%. We would literally, all we have to do now is hit quote, scroll down and hit save, and this estimate is literally ready to go. So we're going to go in, scroll up to the top, hit email. And it's going to load a pre-built email that you would automatically set up. So this is what we use for Simple Growth for some of our automation sales, but that's totally fine. We're going to use that anyways, just as the example, so you get an idea of the workflow. But this email is already pre-built, one-off. You can customize it. So if you talked about their kids, their dogs, you can enter that stuff in. And then there's a link here that they can click on the estimate. So we're going to hit send. I'm going to hop on the other screen real quick and pull up my email and pull that up so you can see what this actually looks like in the workflow. One of the cool things is with Service Autopilot Estimates, it allows you the ability to embed videos. So I'm going to show you that example as well. So the whole idea is to kind of replicate yourself through technology and let the video do the work for you. And then, so if they enter that, see that estimate in the middle of the night, they can watch that video. And now it's not relying on you or your office staff to answer that question. So I'm just going to my email here to see if I can get that estimate here so I can show you the live version of what that actually looks like. All right, so we've got this email here. I'm going to swing this over. Grab that. All right. Like I said, if you were tuning in to see on-site Trav as well, he's going to be live tomorrow. I had some technical difficulties lining that up. So here's the email inbox right out of my account. Everything from the email is already preloaded. Customer name is test. Scroll to the bottom. There is a downloadable PDF, but we're going to click this live and see actually what happens. So this is an estimate template that we built out for Simple Growth as a certified advisor. Here's the Facebook lawn mowing. We can click on it or not click on it to accept the mowing at $109 a pop. One of the cool things that we do expert service Autopilot set up, done for you in 10 days or less. Not a sales pitch, but one of the cool things is we actually figured out how to embed a Google form or a Google Doc inside an SA estimate. So if you ever want to have something embedded, you can embed, literally, this is a Google sheet or form, I'm sorry, right inside it. So you've got Google Sheets, Google Forms, or Google Docs. This is actually the doc that we've embedded inside the SA form that's scrollable. So pretty cool functionality if you want to do that. We've got our verbiage, invoicing details, and in the bottom, we have the ability to embed videos. Now, obviously, this is for Simple Growth, but in my lawn care company, I've got about 9 or 10 different videos embedded. And what I would recommend is make separate 2-minute or under videos that goes over every service, what's included, what's not included, your guarantee, and overcome any sales or price objections. So now the video is doing the sales for you and not you or your office staff. These videos literally play live right now inside the SA automation, the SA estimate. So we can embed some videos in there, replicate yourself through technology. And we can also put some things in there such as screenshots. What we would do here is literally now you can go in and click to sign the estimate. They can electronically sign, save it, print their name, and hit accept. And now we have an electronic signature on file if you want it, which is optional, that would upstand basically in court if they opted not to pay you. So it's very, you can take the simple base system and then build upon it for complexity. So I'm going to go back into that client now and show you what happens once I accepted that estimate. So as you're looking at this, before I refresh the browser, this screen looks different. This bar across the bottom is a elongated bar across. That's going to visually give you the idea that it is a lead and not a client. Also, when we search in the search bar, they've got some visual representations here. So as I look, the dark C is a lead and the L that's light is a lead. So visually, as you're looking at it, it's going to give you some visual clues of what you're looking at and how to differentiate it. So I'm going to refresh my browser, and now you're going to notice once they signed on this, we've got this estimate here that's won. And we're going to be able to go in and actually click on it. So when we click on this, it's going to give us the IP address, the signature, and all the information we need. And I'm going to show you how, in my opinion, the best practice to schedule this is right in the actual estimate itself. But SA is pretty slick in the fact that it will make you convert this lead into a client for their tracking and make you basically convert that person into a client. And this is how I would recommend for best workflow to do that. So once we dive into this estimate here, that's one, I'm going to show you how to convert the lead into a client. The upper right-hand corner there is the signature information. So that's everything that we need to know that they did sign on. So we're covered. And scroll to the other screen here just to make sure you can see it. Beautiful. And now we know that this is one. So we're going to hit that checkbox next to the one lawn mowing. And we're going to go in and attempt to schedule it. But the system's smart enough to know, hey, this is a lead. We can't schedule the service yet. So it's going to prompt you to convert that lead into a client, and then we can schedule it live right from the same screen. So we're going to get this to load up here. My internet at home, working from home today, is a little bit slower. So I apologize. But once this loads, we're going to have the ability to convert this lead into a client and then schedule off the same screen for workflow. So I just logged over there just to get this moving. We're going to click on the estimate here once it gets back in and go. So as you're looking at this, we've created the entry from the website and the client. We've entered an SA. We've created the estimate. The estimate's been emailed, and now it's won. And I'm going to go through that process. If the estimate's lost off the online version, there's nothing you need to do. If they call, you need to mark that as lost. And I'll go over that process as well. But now when we win this estimate, we're going to make sure it's marked as won. We're going to convert the lead, and then we're going to the next box. So we schedule, route, dispatch, close them out, and actually get your money in your pocket. So we're going to click on this estimate again. This loads up, and we're going to go to schedule. The system by default is going to make you convert them into a client. Like I said before, signature information is in the upper right-hand corner. absolutely killer, enforceable in court. And there's another area in the system where you can actually print this out and see the actual signature that they made electronically. So that's been pretty huge. I know a lot of times Jonathan Potoshnik, the co-founder of Service Autopilot, which I completely agree with, talks about less barriers to closing the sale or less steps. Creating a signed contract may not be the best move to get them to convert as quickly. But if you're doing something with snow removal and you need slip and fall liability mitigation and you need them to sign something to hold you harmless, this is a great way to do it. So we're going to go in, we're going to click the checkbox and schedule. Boom, this is going to jump up and ask us to convert as soon as it catches it here. So the system's going to make you convert a lead into a client before that happens. So we're going to convert them, and now it's converted. So we're going to go back, click the button again, and literally hit schedule. So this is the cool thing about Service Autopilot. No matter your industry, we have the ability to schedule each service off this. So you have the ability to schedule weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or custom schedule. So, and then we also have the ability to schedule a waiting list job or a one-time job. So I'm going to go through each one of these to show you the functionality and the ability of the scheduling here. So if we go to schedule, we're able to hit a reoccurring job. So this is your weekly or bi-weekly or maybe every 3-week job. It doesn't really matter if you're home cleaning, lawn care, it's all the same as far as the scheduling feature. So when this loads up here, I'm going to show you how to actually schedule this out and some of the different complexities of it as far as best practice. But you can see it automatically loaded the service, the quantity, the rate, the budgeted hours. We're going to select the initial start date of today, and reoccurring today, we're going to select a crew. And we're going to go into our mowing crew 1. And where it's a schedule here, we can go down and there's multiple default selections. So we've got bi-weekly, even and odd weeks, and weekly 7 days of the week that you can schedule on. One feature that a lot of people aren't aware of, so you would literally just select weekly Friday and it'd be every Friday. But you can customize it. If you create custom, it's going to give you the option to select more detail. So it could be weekly, daily, monthly. So let's say it is a weekly Thursday and I want to do every 3 weeks. And it's going to start this date, no end, or we can enter after so many occurrences or end by a certain date. But if we hit show schedule, this will actually show you the projected dates that actually go out on the schedule. And that's just a complete way to have complete control over the system. So I'm going to X out of this and show you basically if you were to schedule a waiting list job. So a waiting list job wouldn't be a weekly, bi-weekly, or a certain time. A waiting list would be something like fertilization or maybe a spring cleanup or a fall cleanup. It needs to happen in a certain amount of time, but not a specific date. So we can put them on a waiting list and drive them on the map and route them. So based on geographic density, we have the least amount of drive time and optimize the route. So we go in and hit add a waiting list job. And once this loads up, we're able to select a time range, start and date. So it starts today and maybe it needs to be done by November 1st. Now that job will sit in a waiting list and you can pull them off the map and route them so you're not bebopping around town trying to grab random jobs. I'm going to X out of that and then show you the one more time job. We can do a one-time job on a specific date. And anybody who's doing snow removal, we have on-demand jobs. So that would be based on a trigger of X amount of snow, inches, or ice conditions. And then you can dispatch it based on the conditions as well. I'm not going to dive in that because most people probably aren't doing snow. But trust me, we run about 600 residential driveways and about 80 commercial parking lots. We plow, I believe, about 180 acres of pavement each time it snows in upstate New York. It works pretty good. So we're going to go in and put the start date of tomorrow and assign it to Mow Crew 1. And we've got the rate and time there. So, and I'm going to save that just so we can use that later in the example. Once we hit OK, we pop it up, and now it's going to refresh and say it has been scheduled. So that's the workflow process. Now we've won the job. We've scheduled from the lead to a client, and then we've scheduled off the client screen. So as we're working through this expert workflow, we've got to schedule the work, and then we're going to route it and dispatch it. So I'm going to move through this just to show you how you can have control of the system and how this works. So now that we've got that in there, we've got several features in here, but we're going to scheduling dispatch board. So this is where those jobs are in there. If we're under scheduling waiting list, that will be all the waiting list jobs, and that's here. But we're going to go on the dispatch board. So we're going to go in and select tomorrow's date and refresh, and that one job should show up. So there's a couple of them, it looks like here. So we've got some mowing, we did a weekly cleaning and a bi-weekly. This little calendar icon means that it's ready to be dispatched, but it's scheduled, it's just not live yet. So what we're going to do is go down and select all of these here and go to actions and dispatch. Now this dispatch puts it live in the mobile. So your crews, if they're using the mobile app, can actually see these jobs, or if you're going to print them out, you can do that as well. What we recommend is we show the map here. This is going to drop pinpoints. So these are test clients. I have a feeling they're going to be all over upstate New York, but it will give you an idea at least. So we're going to click them, and it's going to drop some pins on here. So we've got the 2 or 3 pins there. And the SA gives you a really cool way, several ways to route. So it gives you complete control. I prefer to use the paid version of the routing, but if it's under 23 stops, we can use Google to optimize it. But under actions, we're able to go in and manually route them and literally click and drag these jobs around in order. And you can see on the count and the pins here that will change the number. We can go into actions and group stops. It's going to geographically group them. The only thing is if you have a lake or a river in between, it's not going to take account that you can't drive through the river. And then optimize stops is you can go in through Google or the paid track road and buy optimizations. But we can go into Google, select the resource, and optimize it. And it's going to optimize it from the address of your shop through the pins and back to your shop. So that is the preferred way, either Google or the track option there. And we can update today's routes only or every week or every other week. So we're going to update this every week. And now that's always going to be set for that mow crew on that Thursday. Next thing you're probably looking at is, well, what happens if I've got employees and somebody doesn't show up? Well, shocker, that happens. Obviously, we all know that watching this. But how can we handle that to manage that workflow? Well, in the mobile, you can obviously drag and drop different people in and clock them in and clock them out through the mobile. Very easy process. But if you're not using the mobiles and you want to print these bad boys out, we're going to go to the more and we're going to go to assign crews. Now, these are all our crews today. So let's say I'm on mow crew 1 and I need to move Chad over from home cleaning crew to the mowing. So this is a manual override for the day. And then the default set on the crew level automatically populates. So we know in the service industry, we have people coming and going, things change, we need to move people around. Easy way to override it for the day and save it. Now, next thing is, once it's set, this is automatically live in the mobiles. They can log in and log out. If you want to print it, literally all you have to do is hit print, and this is going to load up the schedule. So we can go in and customize this. So we're going to grab the resource of mow crew 1, the date of tomorrow. Default override is the override format of the schedule I recommend, and we're going to hit update. So this is what happens now. We've loaded the preset people on the crew, the job. We have a start and end point. So if you're not using the mobiles, highly, highly recommend expert workflow. Write down the start end times, and then we're going to show you in the next screen where to enter them in the closeout day screen. This is going to be big for job costing to know if you're making money or losing money on any job and where you're at. So now that we have that, and we printed that out, we're going to want to go back to the scheduling dispatch board. So when they're live in the field and they're using this mobile, this is going to give us the ability to see it live in the office. So basically, we're going to go to this closeout day screen. And if there's certain screens or views that you always want to go to, you can save that view so it automatically populates it. And you don't have to recreate it each time. So this looks identical to the dispatch board, but the only difference here is when you dial in it, there's a start and end time for each job. So I'm going to go into the lawn mowing example. And if the crew in the field automatically logged in and logged out in the mobile, would automatically populate. Let's say you printed it out and they got there at 8 a.m. and we're there to 8:30 a.m. Now it's going to track that. It's going to track the 3 guys on that crew, the time, and the budgeted hours. And then you can see under budgeted hours, it automatically populates 5.91 man hours. So I'm going to just plug in some other times here just so we have some times. This example. And this would be automatically entered in if you're using the mobiles. So basically the whole process here, when you're done, is to just review these numbers. For 15 bucks a month for a mobile user, it's totally worth it. Time savings there. But at the end of the day, we're going to look at this, make sure everything's there. We've got a budgeted time. We've got start and stop times. The appropriate number of people are on there. When we're done, we're literally just going to go in, select it, hit complete, and boom, it's done. Now that check mark's there, and it's ready to be invoiced when we hit that trigger point of end of the month, end of the week, end of the day. So if you're looking at time savings, this is huge because you don't have to create these invoices. The invoices are automatically created for you. And then the next process here, we go back to our chart, is we've routed it, we've dispatched it, and we've closed out the day. So that's the start and stop times, budgeted versus actual. And then it's time to invoice and collect. So if it's the end of the month, these are automatically generated. So at the click of a few buttons, we can bill out charge cards, email, and print out invoices. And I'm also going to show you real quick, we have some time here, how to take your daily versus actual times in a KPI, key performance indicators, to track accountability, to make sure you're making money in each and every job and hold your team accountable. So hold on with me. That's a little outside of SA, but this will kind of dive into the nuts and bolts of some of the data we can pull out. So what we're going to do now is go to scheduling or accounting invoices. All in one place. If you're using the QuickBooks Sync, this automatically drives them over. So we've got filter results for everything here. Past due, open invoices, invoices to charge, invoices to print, invoices to email. So basically, if we had invoices to print, we would select these, go down and hit print. We can email. And if you're going to charge cards under USPS, there's a thing that says charge cards. This is our test account, so we don't have that functionality, but it's literally, do you want to charge the cards? Yes, the thing pops up, confirm, and you can charge all your credit cards at once within minutes. Money's in the bank usually in 48 hours. So it's all in one. So that's literally the quick overview of the functionality of Service Autopilot, how it's done. This is the process we use at Simple Growth when we set this up for people in 10 days or less. So take the expert workflow that we use. If it's something you want to do for yourself, ideally, this is the process we recommend. So I'm going to go back to that dispatch board or closeout day screen actually, and show you real quick what we can do as far as from a KPI standpoint. And I'm going to hop on my other screen here to pull up a document or two. Didn't quite see the conversation going this way, but as it kind of did in my head, I want to show you some of this functionality because it's pretty cool. So closeout day screen is where all the finished jobs are. And I'm going to swing over on the screen here once this loads, how we track our key performance indicators to make sure we're making money day in and day out. We've got probably 50 or 60 people using this KPI tracker that we've been using. It's pretty powerful. So what we're going to do is scroll down here and get our budgeted time for the whole entire day. And let me get this other screen over here and I'll all right, so I'm going to swing this over here and show you what we're driving at here. So this is how we do it in our company. Some of the people we work with use this from us. But basically, we're going to take that total budgeted number here, 5.91 hours budgeted for the day, and plug it into this sheet. So let's just pretend it's January 1st, and this is kind of where we're going with this. But this is the process that we do day in and day out in our business. A lot of people we consult with to make sure we're making money. So we plug that in, that 5.91 hours in budgeted time. And we're going to say, let's just say this crew worked from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's 8 hours. We plug that in, and they worked a half-hour lunch. And where the X's are, we put the crew numbers, names in, and 2 people are on that crew. Well, the sheet we made, and you can replicate this yourself if you'd like, but this is how we do it, is we've got total man hours of 15 hours, and our budgeted time was 5.91. So as we scroll down here, we've got total gross hours, lunch. So we worked 15 hours outside of lunch, and we were budgeted 5.91 hours. In this fictitious example, we were 9.09 hours over budget for that day. And as we scroll to the right, we've got all the crews kind of lined out here. So one of the things we find, especially even in my company, when we're not doing this, is things can get out of whack really quick if we're not tracking it. So I'm going to make this example a little more reasonable and put in 16 budgeted hours for the day, and the crew actually worked 15. So this percentage of budget is 100.6%. So anything above 100% is under budget. Anything below 100% is over budget. Now, the reason why we set the math calculation this way is this is a number you're going to post in your shop, or you're going to post this on a dry erase board or something in the shop that's visible. So we're going to drive efficiency and public accountability. But the thing you're going to realize, if you start putting the actual hours they worked for the whole week, there's going to create some animosity, because some people are going to be getting 35 hours, some might get 45. People are going to be upset that they didn't get the hours or got too many hours. But if it's a number with a percentage, it's not emotional. No one knows how many hours it's based on. It's based on a percentage. Next issue that you will probably run into is there's going to be a competition. Their guys are going to work faster, harder, and more efficient. But eventually, quality control will go out the window. So we want to tie in a plus and minus system for compliments and complaints on the system. So it's not only that we're worried about time and efficiency, but we're worried about the quality. We have some friendly competitions in the shop amongst the guys, and some rewards at the end of each week or every month. But the whole point of this is to track the wins daily and then sum total on the week. So as we scroll to the left here, I've got total budgeted hours for each crew in the company for the whole entire week. And for each crew, I can go in so I can see what crew did the best, and then as a company as a whole, where we made money for over or under budget. So what we'll find is out of 5 or 6 crews, 1 or 2 are bleeding us dry, and 3 or 4 are killing it and driving profit. So this is going to highlight where we need to practice on either more density and better routing, or more training and process and systems in your business. So it's a non-emotional way to keep a pulse on that. The biggest thing that we also find is a lot of companies we work with don't know the break-even cost, what it costs you to operate per man hour. So we evolved into this sheet a little bit more for people we work with as certified advisors is in January, let's just add in, let's say it was $200. So how this would work is after you reconcile your bank account, you enter in the expenses for the whole entire month. And you would throw this in, and now the sheet, the way it works, calculates a break-even point per month. So in this fictitious example, it's costing us $13.33 to operate. That's what our operating costs are before we make any profits. So now we have a historical benchmark for each month. So traditionally in lawn care, we have a higher break-even point on average in the beginning of the year than we do the end of the year. We're overly concerned about the average of the break-even for our forecasting, budgeting, and pricing. But if we have a historical benchmark now, and we're breaking even at $13 this year, and next year we're breaking even at 25, that's a massive jump. So there may be a reason, but this is going to give you that red flag that you historically, as a percentage, you've jumped significantly higher or lower, and you can address that before it's too late. And then on the left here, what we do is we actually average the break-even point. So we have the break-even for the whole entire year, and then we break it out per month as a historical benchmark. So this is how we take that information and service autopilot in my company and take that budgeted hours, and we report that. Everything we did today, we run this report tomorrow. So we have instant feedback for the crews, and the manager and the business owner know if we're making money and where we need to concentrate to drive more efficiencies and profits. So that is the big part of it. And then the next thing is, how do we know we're making money in each and every job we do? So we actually go in, and under the CRM reports, we have the new reporting center. Not going to get into the details of the reporting center, but this is a key report that I recommend that everybody uses at least twice a year. So we're going to grab this, and what we can do is run a report on every job we've done per service or per crew. The name of it here is Job Cost Summary. We're going to click on that, and that's located on the little toaster icon there under Asset Reports here. And what we're going to do is just select the date range of the whole year and the service, whether it's lawn mowing or whatever it is, and it's going to populate a report. We'd export that into Excel. And what we do here is in the job cost report that we built out here, well, let me pull that back. We've got a place where that goes in. So the export in our dummy account here, what this looks like is we've got this North Shore drive. We've got total revenue that we're charging. So we're charging $54.28 per cut. We're averaging these two examples. We made $54 an hour per man hour and $60 per man hour per cut that we're actually the 2-man crew. So that's what we're generating as revenue per man hour. So we average that up at $57.30 a cut, generating dollars per man hour. So we've got the price per cut and how much we're generating per man hour. So what we do is we scroll over here and we've got an area where we plug in our dollar per hour generated desired amount. So in this example, we want $55 an hour per man hour. And we're making $57. So we're higher than our goal. So in my opinion, we don't ever touch this price on this account until we are lower than the desired threshold of per man hour, 55 bucks an hour. So the problem we see a lot of times as clients or people we talk to is, I'm raising my prices $2 across the board, gas prices are up, whatever that may be. Well, after you figure out your budget, you realize you need 55 bucks an hour. If I'm making $100 an hour on this account, why would I ever raise that price? You're just going to lose an extremely profitable account where you shouldn't be raising that price, in my opinion. So what we're going to do is go and raise the prices on the accounts that don't meet the minimal dollar per hour threshold through exporting the job cost summary report in Service Autopilot. So in this example, we're meeting it. So the price per cut change here is 0. Well, let's bump this up to, let's just say $80 per man hour. Now to hit that threshold, this sheet here, once the calculation comes through, is going to tell me how much I need to charge extra. So now that $57 cut went up to $80 a cut and has a price increase of $22.71. So now this would give you the data to have a non-emotional way to raise the prices on each and every job you're losing money on, and the ones you're making money on, you leave alone because you're making good money. So hopefully this was helpful. This is our expert approach to Service Autopilot implementation from day one, and then going in and doing a KPI daily and job costing probably every July and December. So we catch the people in July that we have new estimates for, or if Mrs. Smith added a fence and the guys aren't telling us, it's taking longer. We need to raise that price to account for that. And before we do renewals for the following year, we run that job cost report again to make sure on average of those 30 to 40 cuts a year, we're making our desired profit per cut. So can't wait to SA5 coming up next week. Jonathan Toshek, John Caldwell, the whole SA crew. My talk, Dominate Your Market Part 2 is going to follow Jonathan's talk, Dominate Your Market, where I'm going to be showing you things like this on a higher level, how to take Jonathan's theory and make SA work for you day in and day out to dominate your local market. I'm going to check some comments here live just to see if there's anything that needs answer. Tim, what's up, buddy? Gramstroff wants to know, do you get pushback from the guys, say in the spring, when typical jobs go over budget and they're only getting paid for X amount of hours? So I'm assuming he's talking about piece rate. Tim, great question. Several different ways to tackle this. We've actually created higher budgeted times in the spring and lower ones in the summer and fall to account for that. Or depending how you implement it, you would probably go in and have a very candid conversation that, hey, you're making a little less per budgeted hour in the spring, but when we hit June, July, and August, that time's not going to change, and you are off to the races. And if you're budgeted for 50 hours and you do it in 40, I'm still paying you 50. If that is a piece rate or piecemeal example. So that's how I'm going to answer that. But if you have any other questions, if that's not answering the question, Tim, drop me a private message or drop it here, and I'm happy to answer that as well. Matt Green, what are the best practices for scheduling on a wait list? Matt, I like to put them on a wait list. I pull them up the map with the pins. And when we circle them up on the left-hand corner of that dispatch board, when we dispatch it, it's going to give you total number of services, total dollar value, and budgeted man hours. And then we're going to base it off that. But I would geographically do it in zones or areas to create density and efficiency. Looks like that's all the live questions. So if you have any questions, live or recorded, put them on. I'll tackle those tomorrow. SA Weekly Talk Show coming back at you again with on-site Trav, social media expert, and Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Had some technical problems with him getting live, but we're shooting for tomorrow sometime around 3 Eastern, 2 Central. We'll let you know, and we'll definitely see you coming live from SA5, Dallas, Texas, coming in next week, definitely from the conference area. And who knows if we're still functioning in a live, we may be doing some Facebook Lives live from the Hyatt Regency bar area and talking to some SA members and potential new SA members, as well as some of the speakers. So keep an eye out for us, obviously, down by the conference, and come out and say hello. Jonathan Patoshnik, myself, John Caldwell, Jason Cupp, Jim Evans, amongst a couple headline speakers here that are on the docket. So can't wait to see everybody there. We're going to be running live SA Weekly Talk Show pretty much every day from the conference, and pretty much I'm going to try to get at least 1 or 2 live episodes from the bar area. So if you haven't been able to attend, you can kind of see the absolute networking and just chaos of like-minded business owners working together to help learn and outgrow their local competition. So until tomorrow, on-site Trav, social media, dominate your local market with social media. We'll see you then.